the creator, composing understanding words of culture brilliance, powering a rebalance of the elements equally. Pages of rejuvenated reaffirmation. Simply the almighty leadership of insightful craftwork that stands to build through any confrontation born to be. Yet his daily duty is as a journalist that questions properly, uses his ears for the good to filter the real. And as the art decays by dilution, he concentrates the best again and again, exposing it in the print. Today's journalist and tomorrow's historian he listens to share. Here is that necessary attempt executed again and again and again. This is the Power Right Show on S.STREET Media. This is your brother, the lone low life with the home-sewn garment, the Boricua with the build, the true and living God stepping in score. Sunez Allah, a.k.a. Skillustrator Alone. We're on S.STREET Media, the evolution of media, where every intrigue will have its own show, every incredible thought will have its own episode, and every timeless insight will be archived. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the only show about my element of hip-hop, the writer of what I say is art on art and science on music. That means science on music, like actually telling you something besides these are bangers, these are slappers, this guy could rap all right, this sounds good, you know what I mean? And some real insights on the music and art on art. That means that the art that y'all brothers do, some of these brothers got some art that inspires me right here in this audience. And it inspires my art, okay? And then I've been doing this for over 20, almost 25 years. So every bullshit magazine that you've ever picked up and said, this is fucked up, I was there, getting kicked out or kicking my own self out. So on that note, though, I gotta let everybody know I have a before the end of April, I have my I have an ebook coming out. It's gonna be called The Filtered Real. It's really essays from the invisible Renaissance, and they're essays. This particular book, though, it's a quick book. It's inspired from the all the artists and works from 2018. So some of the ideas go back, but they're all inspired by 2018 artists, you know what I mean? So that's why it's called Essays from the Invisible Renaissance. The Invisible Renaissance, what I call this 2010s, and it leads me to a segue because people keep asking, you know what I mean? They ask me, the God Tragedy Gaddafi has an album coming out now called Invisible Renaissance. And everybody's going, yo, Sunnis, they took your shit, you know what I mean? And that's not how it went. It's actually a great honor. Years ago, one of the first interviews I ever did with Tragedy, I was building with him on my concepts first, like I do with everybody, and I was telling him that, listen, you came out, but your Tragedy's. I was saying Tragedy's work in the 2000s was very strong. A lot of shit was weak in the 2000s, and a lot of bullshit went down. And I always called the 2000s the dark ages. That's when your drums got tinny. You know what I mean? We went from, if you want an example, listen to Capital Punishment Pun, and then listen to Yeah Baby beats. The difference between those beats from the 90s and the 2000s is the best example of what I mean by the dark ages. You know what I mean? And aside from a lot of other people, they kept telling me was the fucking GOAT when I was writing at these magazines, and they wasn't the fucking GOAT. They was some kind of animal. I don't know what animal they was. You know what I mean? And so I always called it the dark ages and stuff, and it was hard for a journalist too, you know what I mean? People thought the paychecks was big, but those are only for the sellouts though, you know what I mean? And for people like me that wanted to write about certain individuals and stuff, it became really a lonely place, And I was explaining that Tragedy Gaddafi actually made great albums and great works in the 2000s. He survived the dark ages into this invisible renaissance. He was like, oh shit, you saying that this is the invisible, I gotta use that shit. So I was like, that's P's guy. I was like, that's a slang master. This is the man that made up Illmatic. So, I was like, yeah, that's Peace. You know what I mean? You use it. So that's what the Invisible Renaissance means, and he's definitely part of it, just like my guest coming up. One more thing, besides my book, when it comes out, follow me, Sunez, S-U-N-E-Z. Follow S.STREET Media on the Instagram, and you'll be updated on all that stuff. But listen, I'm a lowlife because of hip-hop. You know what I mean? I'm not a lowlife because of all the Million Man Rushes, all of that shit. I'm a lowlife because I'm this good at fucking hip-hop. You know what I mean? And one thing I've always been, though, is the true and living God. And when we go, and this Saturday, for everybody to know, this Saturday, where the first school of the entire 5% Nation of Gods and Nerds, the first school ever, the only building that was given to Allah the Father who started the nation by the mayor, John Lindsay, at 126th Street and 7th Avenue in Harlem. That building right on the corner, though, is going to be renamed this Saturday, Allah, Justice, and His 5%ers. You know what I mean? And it's a big deal to all of us gods and nerds. It means the proof that we're not just some gang, that we're in the community, we deal with the babies. And for me personally, as I said on my other show, it means a lot to me because at that school, I've taught the longest running course at that school. You know what I mean? So for the last 19 years, I've been able to teach my own design course, the peace course, political education and civilization enrichment, to any and anyone that comes in with a free curriculum, a free coursework, you know what I mean? And it's just a real honor that we get this blessing that, like, yo, they can't be trying to take our shit away now and saying that we're not in the community. Y'all name the block after us, you know what I mean? So it's just a great thing. So that's going to be March. Word is bond. And that's going to be March 30th, this Saturday at 2 o'clock. So, head to the corner, you know what I mean? Don't worry. If you don't know no math, you don't know no degrees, just say what you don't know. You ain't got to be held accountable for what you don't know, But back to the show, right? And I think that the best way to introduce my guest, though, is to talk about the art that he inspired from me. So I want to read a piece, though, and it's a piece that is inspired by him, but it just went, like a lot of pieces I write, it just went totally sideways and shit. And I wrote it for what I was telling him. I told him way before, a long time ago, that this was my favorite album of his. And I wrote this, And it's funny because if you think about, it's funny, it's not an admission of anything that happened with me and Cardi B, you know what I mean? It just happened to be using the metaphor of some bitch, you know what I mean? But we don't talk about respect fake niggas. I don't even have time. They told me I don't have time to do the Who Gives a Fuck segment. So, yeah, there you go. Who gives a fuck segment? Cardi B. I don't give a fuck. Segment over. All right. You guys like bad music. You're held accountable for everything they do. You know what I mean? You like bad musicians. You're held accountable for the bad shit they do. But I wrote this piece, though, and it was inspired by my brother Skankz and his work with Endemic. You know what I mean? And I said this, right? I don't even have a name for it, though. I just called it, like, Spy. But it goes like this. She was a spy for the Yankee Nation up north and over west. Never from the nourished militants munching on the wisdom munitions out of Isaiah's kitchen, but the lay-woke culprits of the billboard Reich. The same machinists that mechanized Cardi B to anthemic nihilism. Oh, lie with my respect fake spy. The dirtier a whore gets, the cleaner we will all be, she'd say, as she embraced me with the pressing chest so filthily fabricated. Yet I, damn me, so foolishly elated. I am S.STREET alone, the man of the art and art, and yet my thickened pencil scraped in the soggy sheets where no words could embed themselves. Puncture a paper, lose your form, and excite a masochist stealing your lead. Track it. The drone tone trapped me because I projected we were going to infiltrate the billboard, sound an alarm, and sing the mumble slew away. A chorus of wailing assimilation and waning appropriation to be drained away in the soaps of my inventions and the water of her supporting intentions. She, actually allied with those of the song fallacy, tore 2/4 of fabric off, revealing all her sickness. A popular sickness that weakened my skillness. The home of supremacy is where the rhythms are lovingly cooked, not where the cooked up rid them of rhythm's longing look. But them blues is now all over my hands as I rub my heart over all this rap exploitation. So the S.STREET and soon build, word is bond. All right. But thank you. Yeah, man. And yeah, all right. But listen, the best way, like when I was saying the dark age, it was dark age for me. People don't know I done quit hip hop more often than Jay-Z when he was fronting with that shit, right? They'd write things wrong, publish things wrong. I just, and I never got to write the way I write. Some shit like this I could never put into a magazine, you know what I mean? So I felt constricted. So when my brother Kevlar, Remembered Imperfection, my brother, when he started Premier Hip Hop with my brother Paragon, I got a free reign to write. And I started to go to some shows, right? That's where I met DJ Toshi. I met, Doc Ock, all these brothers. And I kept seeing, like, who's that? Who's that brother with the eye patch? Always at every fucking show. He's either on stage or he's in the audience somewhere. You know what I'm saying? Everywhere I go. And I was like, and then when the first time I saw him on stage, I was like, I know why he's at every fucking show. You know what I mean? Because if one of these niggas gets sick or falls off, he's going to fix the show for everybody. You know what I mean? Yo, and I was like, one thing about my guest is that a lot of times there are a few MCs, there's a lot of great MCs. That's why I called it the Invisible Renaissance. But there's not a lot of MCs that the minute I put them on, though, I feel like joy. This brother makes the most hardest shit, but I feel joy. I get happy about hip hop. I'm not looking for a salsa record. I'm not looking for a soul record on the side, some jazz. And there's a few people like him, Starvin' B. There's a couple of people that make me hype. You know what I mean? Just happy about hip hop like I used to be when I was a kid, you know? And my brother Skankz, the rap martyr of Bankai fam, is definitely one of them, though. Peace, my brother.
Peace, my brother. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely, absolutely. You know what I mean? And, this brother's everywhere. He does way too much fucking hip-hop. He does a ridiculous amount of hip-hop. I feel inefficient. You know what I mean? The motherfucker is everywhere, you know what I mean? So that's why I call him the everywhere man. You know, he's the everywhere MC. So if I'm writing on every page, I'm the everywhere writer. He's the everywhere MC, you know? But, I was telling you this off air right before we got on air, right? And we were talking about MCs and we were talking about whack MCs. I'm not going to say what inspired that, you know what I mean? But, and it definitely wasn't what DJ Polarity plays because he always blesses, you know what I mean?
Shout out DJ Polarity.
Yeah, I feel calm, though, because, when you get a DJ, like, this guy plays joints I don't fuck with, though, you know what I mean? He's going to fuck up the show. He's going to start the shit off with some beat that's real weak. I'm going to be off step and shit, you know what I mean? But the thing about it is, like, I was telling Skankz, I was like, like, where you're from, because I'm not from the heart of Medina. I'm from Sunset Park, so I call that the lung of Medina. We had a lot of shit to say, but we had to hold our air, you know what I mean? And we was seeing everything. We was breathing everywhere. Everybody was breathing, but we didn't get to do shit. And he's from the heart of Medina. Everywhere that all the dope MCs in Brooklyn, everywhere they were passing, he was around. And I was like, yo, Skankz, like, compared to me, you're like fucking a Curry. You know what I mean? You, like, grew up in the hip-hop NBA. You know what I'm saying? Like niggas is like Das Effects is dribbling, and he's, like, watching him dribble. You know what I mean? All these great MCs is dribbling. They're all doing shit. Right? Everything's around you, Skankz. And I'm like, you could come up with a style, but how do you come up, like, and say, yo, I want to actually, a lot of guys that come from, like, real concentrated areas, I always ask, how the fuck did you decide to MC and say, look, yo, do I even have the fucking daring to just say, yo, I'm going to MC? Like, you're at a murderer's row, and you're like, I'm going to pick up the mic. What makes you say, like, that first time, you say, yo, I think I could do this too?
No lie, I got my ass whipped so many times just to be an MC. You know what I'm saying? Shout out my big brother and all them. Just trying to be in that basement, you know what I'm saying, when Das Effects and all them was recording down there. When I was a little kid, I used to try to sneak down there, and I used to get chased out all the time, you know? That's when I was like 9, 10. I used to get chased out every time. Black eyes, bloody noses. Shout out my bro Goals. He used to straight punch me in the face. Like, get the fuck out. What you doing down here? Get the fuck out of here. It's some grown man shit. Oh,
that's terrible, man.
So one day, I dropped my rhyme book, and they picked up my rhyme book. Shout out my man Big O. Still my man to this day, my homie. And they read my rhyme book, and it was like, oh, shit. Little bro got some shit. And then after that, you know what I'm saying? Like, they just started working.
Right. And this is New York. This is not other places where they say, hey, that's a good rhyme book. Let me rap it. You know what I'm saying? Because a lot of these other places that got hip-hop, that's what they was doing. You know what I mean? I'm just saying. Right?
Shout out my bro Nitya in the building.
Shout
out Sha. Shout out the Dread.
So Skankz, right? When you start, when they saw the rhyme book, they're like, this is dope. Did they actually like, yo, do some of these raps? You know what I mean?
What actually happened was, they started throwing on beats and started telling me to rap them shits. And then I started rapping them, and then from there, we started working on joints. And like a week later, I did my first talent show.
How old are you when this happened?
I was 10.
That's crazy. That's
And
crazy.
I did my first talent show, and the first person that approached me was DJ Scratch at that talent show.
Wow, that's nuts.
And look at this though, I'm a little kid, so I ain't know who DJ Scratch was at the time. So I was just like, oh, I don't know. I gotta talk to my brothers. I gotta ask my brothers. You know what I'm saying? I ain't know.
Right, right.
I ain't know.
That's crazy, man. That's crazy. And let me fast forward a little bit though. You know what I mean? And all the industry, there's a lot of history of you before the recording career of what we say is skanks and stuff like that. You know what I mean? Going around the whole history throughout the 2000s and stuff. Talk a little bit about that and the journey.
Well, like the journey starts with not just for me. It's just like it's a Crown Heights thing, and like it starts with brothers like Half a Mil. You know, it starts with brothers like Shatik right over here, who's in the building right
Indeed,
now.
peace,
It's a
peace.
Crown Heights legend. Word. It starts with brothers like that, and I'm just a brother that was fortunate enough to be young enough coming up, in a hip hop family to be able to work with these brothers and craft my skills with these brothers, Word.
Absolutely. I like to let's talk about just jump into this, right? And talk about like techniques and shit like that, right? When I listen to you, I think, and I go back into the 2000s, so many one of the MCs that was bitten to high hell in the underground was Big Pun. You know what I mean? And there was, the endless flow, the breath control test. You know what I mean? And you could tell they were biting because they didn't even study the precursors like the G-rap and stuff. So they didn't really know how to mold it to their unique style. And it sounded terrible. You know what I'm saying? But when I hear you, I like to call it. I end up calling it like an infinite monotone. You know what I mean? I call it like an infinite monotone because it takes different shapes. If you're really listening, and a lot of this I'm saying to you, Skanks, but really to the audience, and trying to tell them like, yo, when you listen to Skank stuff and you go look for it now and you say, fuck it, I'm gonna press pause on this shit. I'm gonna look it up, see this nigga had this on. Is he this really this dope? And listen for that. There's what I call an infinite monotone that it tends to go monotone, but it goes into different levels and stuff. What we was talking off air about that ability to go out of the pocket or make different rhythms inside that pocket. You know what I'm saying? And as we go along, I'm gonna give different examples and shit, like, and you could expound on it and stuff like that. But like, as you're developing this though, like, when do you start like? Well, first I always ask MCs like, how do you develop this breath control? You know what I'm saying?
It's like kind of like what we was building on earlier. Like, I feel like a lot of MCs don't study the basics before they try to jump into all that extra shit and want to start trying to freak the flows and get out of pocket.
Right.
Like, it's the same thing. For you to be able to be an ill dunker, you got to know how to lay it up first. You know what I'm saying? For you to be able to cross a nigga over, you got to know how to dribble first. You know what I'm saying? It's the same thing. Like I told you, you know what I'm saying? I came up under the big homies right here. You know what I'm saying? And I learned a lot coming up. You know what I'm saying? And we still doing it now,
Actual
and
fact.
it's like you got to learn how to dribble before you could cross somebody over. Plain and simple. You got to crawl before you can walk. You got to understand the basics. You got to do layup drills before you can start reversing and doing all the ill stuff. It's the same thing with hip hop. You got to study the basics and the core before you could take it to the next level and be able to freak it and go out of pocket and come back in pocket and still be on beat.
Absolutely. Like, when you were coming up and developing and stuff like that, when you say the dribbling, right? If you just think about it, what was one of the things you had trouble with in the beginning? Just to give it like a reference point, you know what I mean?
Yeah, like perfect example, like it was times when to get my point across, certain words you might have to cut out, but now to get your point across, you might have the need to keep this word in there. So when I'm doing it now, it throws the flow off totally,
Right.
I never knew how to master that, so I have to cut words out, but I really wanted to keep that word in there to get my point across. So people might get not the full message of what I was saying, like unless, advanced mind, it might go over some people's head. But after learning the basics, you're able to jump out of that pocket and throw them extra words in that you need to make the people, an audience, understand exactly what you're saying, but it's still on in pocket. It goes out, but it stays in.
Yeah, yeah, because I was telling you off air, a lot of these rappers now, they sound like they're doing crash landings, though. You know what I mean? And I'm seeing, like, in my mind, when I listen to music, it looks like a runway and stuff. You know what I mean? Like, you know when you play those driving video games and you don't know how to play, and you're dirt biking on the side and shit, and it's like, you know what I mean? And that's what I'm envisioning when I hear certain niggas rap, and I'm like, yo, it's all fucked up. And everybody is consistently fucked up now. So now when you hear a fucked up rapper, you go, look, I just did it like that, so I'm good enough to go. And so now the standards of what makes a dope MC is like, no, they don't exist anymore though, because you could fuck up and everything like that. You know, you could not be able to find a good. And then now people want to, you know, like at least before they could hold the handrail of the drum, and now they want to rhyme with the drum, and they're not ready for that shit.
See, like,
you know?
when we was coming up, you know, in the same basement that I got my ass whipped in before I even got to rhyme, like, my brother went away and I took over that same studio. And, you know, we had our label, you know, Anarchy Records, LCN, La Costa Nostra, and the Organized Rhyme Family. And it was serious. It's like, nobody can come down there and just be like, I'm down with y'all niggas. Yo, oh, what? Y'all niggas the crew. I'm done. Nah, nigga. You going to have to battle everybody in here. Seriously. I'm talking some battles.
Right.
Some battles, and this is no exaggeration, lasted like 5 hours. Dudes sweating, dripping, everything wet. Like they was really fighting. Like they was in the octagon. It was that
Right.
serious. Like, and you had to earn your respect to be down. Like now I feel like, you know, with this whole new internet age, there's a lot of the physical grind is out of it. So, you know, word of mouth is still powerful, but not as powerful as it was because people could just blow up on the internet. So with that being said, you know, before we used to have to go everywhere. I had to go to every different hood to battle niggas when I was a little kid, you know? Now, you could just make yourself famous right online and make everybody believe it. You don't even got to be really street from the hood, none of that. You could just
Yeah.
make up a persona right in your bedroom, fly it out there, and if the people jump on it, they jump on it.
And that's another thing that we was talking about because in hip hop, and that was just a thought I had that I was telling you off air when you came in and you saved me. Because sometimes, you know, like if you feel whack, it's good to stay near a dope MC and stuff. You know what I mean? Like hear bad music and shit like that. You know what I mean? Let that shit rub off. You know what I mean? I think in hip hop, and this is me writing about this shit, covering it for so long, and writing my own shit. You know what I mean? As a writer myself, a lot of the problem with hip hop that people don't want to admit though is that what makes great music, what makes great artists in our hip hop, is that marriage of talent and also props. I'm gonna leave it like that, props, because it doesn't always have to be from the street. I'm proof of that. You ain't had to do shooting up a million niggas to do that. But a lot of niggas cheat and just have the street shit, and they have none of the talent. You know what I'm saying?
Word to mommy.
And then, you know, and then most people don't have time for hearing the people with talent and then trying to coach them to say, listen, what is it that you might have to say? Because a lot of the people with talent don't have shit to say. You know what I mean? This is why I say that Skankz, you're spoiled as fuck. Because, you know, you have all of those angles pretty much as a growth. You know what I mean? As part of your growth. You know what I mean? And so it changes there. But, like, one of the things I wanted to get to is that when people talk about the streets, I always say that there's two different type of streets, and you have a lot of experience in both. There's the streets out there, but then there's the industries, what I call the industries. You know what I mean? And fighting in those industries and having the tools to get by in those streets, because there's a long history of you dealing with the industry and record labels and all of that in the 2000s. Tell me about some of that, though, and what was the journey and what led you to say, listen, I do shit independent now?
Yeah, you know, like my industry journey, it started in the like, you know, the mid late 90s, you know. And you know, I was honored to be able to go and roll on the road with MC Light, do a lot of stuff with MC Light when I was a little kid, like open up for Biggie, Wu-Tang, MOP, Tupac, bad people when I was a little kid, like unbelievable stuff. And then I used to go to school and don't tell none of my classmates, none of that. Just hold that in, right? Nitra, no, Nitra was in my class. Hold that all in. And like,
Why wouldn't you? You know, most kids would be like, "Yo, I was in the fucking
yo,
show with."
I'm a comic book head. You know, if you see my new joint, I got the new joint dedicated to Stan Lee with Ready C. And I just feel like I was on my superhero shit, you know? Like,
I
in the
see it.
night,
I
I'm
see
going to go out there and kill
it.
shit, do this hip hop shit. In the daytime, I'm going to be a regular kid with my homies, man. Play football, basketball, all that wild shit, you know? Hooky parties, you know? I was a hooky king, right, Nisha? That's a fact, man. Word. Yeah. Word. I do some of the illest hooky parties in history. If y'all know about me in Crown Heights, y'all know. Oh, shout out the good people in the building. Blow, blow, blow,
All
blow,
right,
blow.
peace, peace.
Yeah. They got that new project out too,
That's
man.
right. That's right.
Word.
So let's go through some of this Skankz catalog, you know what I'm saying, before we talk about, even the other ventures and all the other shit that you do, you know what I mean? But I'm just gonna name projects though and certain songs and stuff like that because and partly for you to talk on, but also just to let the listeners know because this
This
is
is
how I
dope
do
because I
stuff,
never
you
had an
know?
interview like this. I'm done feeling this. Thank you, my brother.
No doubt,
The
no
skill
doubt.
is straight and low.
That's right. We got to go through the catalog. You know what I mean? Like these records are like, these are my baseball cards. You know, and I'm pulling them out, and and that's right. Yeah, yeah. I can't go through the whole thing. I can't go through the whole thing. You know what I mean? you know, um, but one of the things I love about a great MC is that they can talk about things that leave you with a jewel without really going over your head, but it sticks in your head. You know what I'm saying? And I remember one of the first jewels that I was hearing though was in that Markowitz LP, right? And you had the song "Tough People." You know what I mean? And it just stays in my head for years. It still stays in my head. You said tough people, tough times don't last, but tough people do. You know what I'm saying? And when you make songs like this, right? You know what I mean? Like, what was the inspiration when you come up with lines like this, lines like that? Because I was thinking immediately, like, at what you went through in all the industry and all that kind of stuff, and it's two different ciphers. Sometimes one cipher won't break you, but another one will. And there's very few people that survive both of those ciphers. So, just yeah, talk about that song.
Just like Jay-Z when we was building earlier.
Hmm.
How many times he said, "This is his last album. This is his last album." I felt like I wanted to quit so many times, and not because of the love, just because of the climate of the game. Like when I was coming up as a kid in hip hop, it was balanced. You didn't even care if MC Hammer sold such and such millions because you still could listen to De La Soul, Tribe Called Quest. You had balance. You could listen to Cool G Rap, NWA. It was different flavors for you. However you wanted it, you had your pick.
Right, right.
And it was all considered mainstream hip hop at the time. Like all of that was getting played by all the DJs. Then all of a sudden, now it's like it's one type of style that gets nothing but play mainstream. Because if you're a real hip hop fan, such as myself, you're gonna go to the ill spots to find that real shit. But some people is too lazy. The average consumer and sheeple is too lazy to go and look for the ill shit. So they're gonna just go with whatever is forced on them right there.
Right,
So
they're picking the best out of what's
yeah,
around them.
so whatever
Yeah.
mainstream. Hey, if this the first shit I turn on my radio station and I hear, this is what I'm fucking with. That's how some people is. It's just
Right, right.
programmed like that, you know?
I was alluding to the history you had in the industries, right, on all of that. And in the Shinigami Flow Professional, right, you have the song "It Was All a Dream," a very short cut. I had to do it.
I
I had
love
to do
that
it.
song too.
I missed the name. You said that's how that bitch, and I missed the name there. I always rewind. I never get the name right, so I don't want to say. But you said blew my deal with Michael Jackson. You said
Yeah,
blew.
this is real deal.
And you said blew a Channel 7 commercial for not dancing. I call it standing for something. You call it cutting my chances.
Yeah.
And I'm telling you something. I was relating to that because they never asked me to dance, though. But they asked this
Yo, you're
pen
the
to
first
dance a
person that
lot.
really paid attention
You know
to
what I mean?
that.
And
The
I
bars
was
right
like,
there.
no,
That's crazy.
like I tell the young MCs right now that they just do everything independently. Like you don't know what it's like though to be in a room though, and they say, hey, listen. Just do this. You'll be all right. If you do this, everything will set free for you. And then, just write that. Don't. And say, I don't know if it's true, man. Don't worry about it. We checked that it was true. Just put that shit in there and be all right. You know what I mean? it's almost like, and you feel like what it feels like in those movies about models where they go, no, just take that off, just take that off. You know what I mean? Like it feels like those kind of shits
The
right there.
casting couch.
Yeah, yeah. And I was like, you go home. I left that. It's Big Time magazine. It's one of those big three. And I go home. You take a shower like this. You know what I mean? You take a shower like this. You know, you sit in the shower. Well, you know what I mean? But like,
Yeah.
what type of fucking dance are they making you do?
So like that line that was quoted, right? I was actually 11 years old when that happened, right?
Okay, okay.
And well, we go with this part first. So Naughty by Nature was new style at the time, right? And myself, we went. The other person who met me that time when I said DJ Scratch approached me was a person that represented BMI. That was the name you talking about. It's a lady, right?
Okay, okay.
So
okay.
she just like, I don't want to sign you. I don't want to get you I don't want to sign you to no management. I just want to make sure that you down with BMI, and I'm gonna help you get a deal, right? Cool. She signed us and Naughty by Nature that same day, right? So everything was cool. Like then all of a sudden, some deals started coming on the table. Uncle Luke was looking for me. Michael Jackson was looking for me. A couple other people was looking for me, right? And long story short, when she seen all the deals coming on the table, that's when she came with a contract and said, you got to sign with me before I plug you in with any of these people. But she gave me a J Jerkin U Records contract because like my aunt was a lawyer and it was just a J Jerkins U Records
so
contract.
when you showed it to her, you was like, "This is a bullshit."
Yeah.
Oh man.
So that's why I gave it to her.
Okay,
The way
okay.
I gave it to her on that.
All right, and Channel 7, what the hell
So
Channel
now
7
the
got
Channel
you doing?
7 situation, Channel 7 hollered at me after me doing like my first show I ever did. No, my second show after that show, I got a write up in Rolling Stone magazine. You know what I'm saying? I did a show. It was me leaders before they popped off, poor righteous teachers before they popped off, brand Nubians. There was a whole bunch of people like on that bill.
Mm-hmm.
And I got the write up, you know what I'm saying? Just because I was a little kid that was spitting, you know what I'm saying? Ice-T was hosting the shit. And Channel 7 reached out to me. And my moms didn't want to deal with that hip-hop stuff, you know, so she let my brother be in creative control. So when we go to Channel 7, I write the jingle for the Saturday morning cartoons. They pay us. So they like, yo, we'll pay you extra if you do the video. But we just want you to do the MC Hammer, wear the pants.
Oh damn.
My brothers jumped up and said, my brother's real hip hop. Like, we don't do that shit. We don't do all that extra clown dumb. Nah, like, we just do hip hop.
Right.
So when he's spazzing them, like, you know, a lot of my brother friends to this day be like, yo, your brother fucked up your whole opportunity, your whole career. You could have been on right now. You'd have been in the commercial. I'm like, yeah, that would have been for the moment, though. Like, I would have sold my soul pretty much for that one little commercial. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Like, that's
and then
just
when
for
you
the
get into
moment.
that real battle song, and then they show that on the screen.
Yeah, then
you're
somebody
all, right?
throw me on Summer Jam screen with
Yeah,
the MC
that's
Hammer pants on.
Oh shit.
Oh, it's over. Like, you know what I mean? Nigga, mash me out. I could never do a battle.
Right.
Shout out Verbal Warzone, you know. You know, me and Chosen building, you know, the money right. Y'all might see me doing a battle real soon, airing somebody the fuck out like I used to do. I really used to do that, though. I used to go block to block, hood to hood. My big homies would be arguing with niggas. They'd be like, what? My little nigga Skankz, problem child to air you out. And then we put the money up, and I go on their block, and I air them out.
Indeed.
Word.
Let's fly over to I wanted to say this though, like, you know, you've always had a way of, again, non-didactic, non-preachy, throwing things in, but it never sounds like you beating us over the head with it. You know what I mean? And I was thinking about this, right? Because when we listen to Back by Popular Demand, right? So now we're like 2015, right? And we hear songs like Boycott. You talk about Trayvon Martin, and you even like fuck Florida, the whole Florida for the elections and shit.
Florida,
right? And then later, you know, and I'm gonna go to this album a little bit, right, a little bit more, but from there all the way to Rapsploitation, because we don't have that much time left, right? you've had songs about, and then you have Trouble on Ratsploitation stuff, right? Is there a level of, as an MC, of frustration, like, for white folk it's race fatigue. They get tired of talking this shit. Don't Does it get tiring talking about the oppression that we continue to go through? You know what I'm saying? Because you nailed it on the head in 2005, and then in 2017 the same shit keeps happening, and it's always been that way for us, and it could get very frustrating to have to share ideas if it's always the same frustration. And as a creator, you want to say new things, but that's all that we've got. That's in the head. How do you deal with that?
So when Rapsploitation came out, it was going down crazy. That's the Trayvon Martin, you know what I'm saying? That's the Mike Brown. All of that was going down. That I pretty much
Eric Garner,
Rapsploitation,
right?
Eric
'Cause you
Garner,
sampled that.
I talked
Yeah.
about all of that. And Eric Garner was a big skit on the intro of one of my joints. You
Yeah,
know
that's
that.
why I mentioned him. Yeah.
And like, through all them times, right? All that stuff was happening. It was fucked up. It was frustrating. Like, I felt like I had to talk about it. And now the title Rapsploitation, right, is playing off of blaxploitation, Blaxploitation was used, like, the movies was used to divert our people and divide and conquer when we came with the Black Power movement. You know what I'm saying?
That's right.
The movies was meant to coon out our people, you know what I'm saying? And it was the same shit with this music, Rapsploitation. You got these clown ass niggas jumping around, jigabooing on stage, talking this dumb shit that I ain't trying to relate to. You know what I'm saying? And it's the same shit. They misguided our youth to just want to pop pickety pills and break night and fuck up their lives, drink scissor and OD and die. Straight up.
Actual fact, yeah.
And I'm not with it, and I'm not supporting it. And that's what Rapsploitation was all about, right? But look, the ills that we was talking about in Rapsploitation continues, because that's why my new single that I just dropped, In the Blink of an Eye, touches on certain things of that, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like
It's
Philando
almost like-
Castile, it's still going on,
Yeah, and it's always fresh when you bring it. It's always a fresh perspective and stuff like that, and the angles. You know what I mean? Before we go, right? I gotta talk about Omnipotent, that song, right? And this
Shout
is
out Tragedy Gaddafi.
Peace to the God. This is just for that song, like the particulars of that song, right? Because for listeners, they might not hear it though, but Skankz starts the song off not where a lot of people. He doesn't start right on the drum there. And he doesn't even pronounce the words. He pronounces the word often differently. He punctuates the T. You know what I mean? And he starts it right as the music fades and is about to kick the snare again. And he goes, often I roam. And then he glides into the next bars using that same ohm sound. And he goes like an old Negro spiritual. They say he's so lyrical, but I could change your mind if you don't believe in miracles. Straight out right, no subliminals. Rappers never knew about it because Illuminati. I don't have the breath control for this. Give me a break here. Because Illuminati got no control over this human body. Throughout this song, there's these moments of just excellence. There's this excellence. And for the listener, you got to go and listen to this stuff. People don't have these abilities. You know what I mean? Like, he just said he was a fucking superhero, though. He's actually admitting this shit. You know what I mean? And it's like throughout, I would, when you were doing Rapsploitation, I feel like it's the latest peak that you have. Now with the new single that you have out, and with Kyo Hitachi, what type of songs, what type of ideas are you coming with though in this one? And what's the focus that's inspiring you? Like what you said was inspired Rapsploitation.
So this project is called Unapologetic. And the reason why this project is called Unapologetic is because we just, at this point in our careers, we don't give a fuck about nobody's feelings, sensitivities, insecurities, none of that. We just coming with pure, unadulterated, raw hip hop from our hearts, how we feel, and we don't give a fuck how nobody else feel. Sometimes when you're making projects, people might reach out to you and be like, the people you're working with or the labels you're working with who are like, we need you to do this type of record. We need you to do this. This project right here is fuck your feelings. We're going to do how we feel. Fuck everybody else's feelings. It's art. Art is like this. You think Basquiat, when he paints his pictures, he ever thinks about how the viewer feels? No. It's Either you're gonna get it or you're not. That's art. That's art. You're gonna get it or you're not. It might go over your head. It might hit you.
Well, you know what though? I have one last question though. Right?
Yes, sir.
You said this in many interviews. You always say this. I'll paraphrase it. You always say, "I'm really in this hip hop shit just from not just from what I can get from it, but from what I can become from it."
Yes.
If I ask you, what have you become with this hip hop?
I feel like, honestly, I feel like I am who I am, and I'm the martyr. And the reason why I'm the martyr is because anybody who know me know if I can, I'm going to help you as long as it's moving the culture forward. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. If it's some bullshit, I'm not going to be there for you. If it's like not culture forwarding, I'm not going to give you my energy. You know what I'm saying? Like S.STREET Media, you know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
It's helping to move the culture forward, and that's why I'm
here. I appreciate that, Skankz. Yo,
word.
I want to say that it's been an honor to have Skankz to just talk about his excellent emceeing. I can't even talk about his host work and Bankhead Hour radio show. His work at Hip Hop Brainiac is gonna make me look like a damn fool.
My co-host is here at NYCHA.
Right? But there's so much work that Skankz has done, though. If anybody's on a track to being a legend, it is definitely Skankz. You know what I'm saying? I got so much love for the work you do, and your work as an individual, your sincerity, it inspires me. You know what I'm saying?
Appreciate you, brother.
Until next time, there'll be a lot more stories to tell, writings to recite, and records to rewind and reminisce. I'm your host, Sunni Zallah, and as always, the Power Right Show is a never respect fake broadcast. Peace.
Peace. That was an awesome ass interview right there, man. Yeah. That was probably one of my favorite interviews of all time just now.
Like this more than just a block. And anytime I touch the mic, I gotta make it hot. Learning every day that life is more than just a block. And anytime I touch the mic, I gotta make it hot.
Gather round, party people of all walks of living, from nerds in the burbs to those locked in. Gather round, party people of all walks.